Welcome, friends, to another exciting episode of A VGM Journey. And I'm your host, The Messenger. The track that we're playing into the show today is Wakakusa GC Spring Theme from the game Swingerz Golf, and it was composed by Shinji Tamura. I'm sure that every other podcast is going to bring up that it's now 2024, and that it's a new year and a new show, and we're going to do something special. And for today's show, it's not going to be a special episode. It's going to be just a normal, carefree, just listening to good old video game music time. And honestly, that's pretty okay. I do want to keep the chill train going and play a track from My Pokémon Ranch. The track is My Ranch Day, and this was composed by Miki Obata. Track that you just heard, that was My Ranch Day from the game My Pokémon Ranch, and it was composed by Miki Obata. I found myself with a lot of time over the holiday break that I had, and I was feeling a bit nostalgic while I was looking at various different videos on YouTube, and I came across My Pokémon Ranch, which I remember having on the Nintendo Wii. It was a WiiWare, I don't want to call it a game per se, but it was a WiiWare game. And it was pretty much a Pokemon storage bank where you were able to connect your Nintendo DS and that you could transfer your Pokemons from Pokemon Diamond and Pearl to My Pokemon Ranch. And that it had this farm setting and a very chill vibe. And the Pokemon themselves, they were in this weird figure kind of style. I did notice that they wind up using that style in some later Pokemon games. Not the mainline series, but some spin-offs. And the track itself was just this weird track that always kind of stuck out to me. So I've never really been one for really chill music, and I don't know, I just thought this one was pretty cool. I'm thinking you guys want a little more energy on the show, and we're going to be bringing that with a request from Meatbug. And they wanted me to play a classics track, which happens to be the jungle theme from the game Contra. And it was composed by Hidenori Maezawa and Kiyohiro Sada. That track that you just heard, that was Jungle from the game Contra, and it was composed by Hidenori Maezawa and Kiyohiro Sada, and this was a request by Meatbug. So thank you, Meatbug, for that request. I'm just gonna throw it out there. I try not to play like the most classic video game music that is out there, just because I always feel like you guys just get sick of hearing it. But then I get a request like this, and I just think like, that's kind of a silly thing to be thinking of. And when you think of Konami on the NES, one of the first things that you'll think of is Contra and how awesome and classic the game and soundtrack is. And like the track itself, I mean, you're immediately getting thrown into action. Bridges exploding and enemies firing at you. And you could play the whole thing with a second player, which makes the game both easier and harder. So I want to once again say thank you for the request, Meatbug. For our next track, we're going to play another request, this time coming from Chris Murray. And he wanted me to play the track Boss Theme from the game Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue. And this was composed by Iku Mizutani. That track that you just heard, that was Boss Theme from the game Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue. It was composed by Iku Mizutani, and this was a request by Chris Murray. So thank you, Chris, for that request. This is going to come across as a little bit of a shocker, and that I was the right target demographic for Power Rangers, and that it should have been pretty appealing to me. However, I've never watched Power Rangers. So, of course, I wasn't going to be playing the Power Rangers Game Boy Color game. And I'm not sure the game itself is any good, but this track and this soundtrack is, oh, wow, pretty amazing. And I know that Mike Levy from XVGM Radio, he's just going to be thinking, like, duh. But I'm realizing more and more just how awesome Iku Mizutani is. And I feel as though he's a bit underrated because a lot of his amazing works just happen to be on licensed titles like this. And I feel as though people have this general attitude of, well, it's a licensed game, so it's probably not good and not worth looking into. And I will say, at the very least, look into the soundtrack. This is definitely some real good stuff. And I'm not sure if Masters of VGM is coming back for 2024, but if it does, I think there's going to be a real good bet that I will do a focus on Iku Mizutani for that. I really believe that. I think for this next track, I'm going to bring the vibes down a little bit, go back to more of a chill, long form kind of track. And this is coming from the game Waterworld. This is Diving, and it was composed by Dean Evans. That track that you just heard, that was Diving from the game Waterworld, and it was composed by Dean Evans. And that's going to just about do it for the show this week. If you like what you've been listening to, have your friends check out the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and whatever podcasting service that you can think of. I'm more than likely going to be on there. You can also check out the show on Terra Player, which is home to various different video game and video game music podcasts. You can email the show at vgmjourney@yahoo.com, and you could also check us out on X at vgmjourney. We also have a Discord server for the show, which I will provide a link for that in the show notes, where you can hang out with your fellow VGM journeymen and talk about games, music, and even look at some cool art. We're also going to play things out with one more track, and that's going to be the staff roll theme, specifically for the Booster Course Pass from the game Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and that it is heavily inspired by the staff roll theme for Super Mario Kart. So I'm crediting Soyo Oka for the original track, and that this was an arrangement done by the Mario Kart 8 band. Have a good one, everyone.